Let's get started. Create a new composition. Press Ctrl N or go to Composition, click New. Rename it to Particles 1. For this composition, I'm using 1920 by 1080 pixels. Frame per second is 99 and duration of this composition is 30 seconds. Click OK. Add a new black solid layer to the timeline. Rename it to BG. Click OK. Now add a new black solid layer and rename it to Floor. Make this layer 3D. Go to Transform and change anchor point to 1000, 1000 and 0. And change position to 960, 542 and 0. Add a null layer and rename it to LD1. Make this layer to 3D. Press Alt button and click stopwatch next to position. Add a script from the description down below. Now add a new null layer. Rename it to T1. Make this layer to 3D also. Press Alt button and click stopwatch next to position. Add a script from the description down below. Now add a camera layer to the timeline. Also add a new null layer. Make this layer to 3D. Link camera layer to the null layer. Open null layer transform. Change position to 960, 500 and 0. Move the timeline to 0 seconds. Click stopwatch next to Y rotation. Change its value to 1 and 0. Now move the timeline to 30 seconds. And change its value to 0. Go to camera layer and to transform. Move the timeline to 0 seconds. Click stopwatch next to point of interest and to position. Change point of interest value to 0, 150 and 0. Also change position value to 0, -700 and -650. Now move the timeline to 30 seconds. Change point of interest to 0. And change position value to 0, 20 and -610. Go to camera options. Change aperture to 300 pixels. Now add a new light. Rename it to emitter 1. Change light type to spot. Color of light is white. Intensity is 100%. Cone angle is 0 degrees. And cone feather to 50%. Fall off should be none. Check cast shadows. And shadow darkness to 100%. Go to light transform. Press Alt button and click stopwatch next to point of interest. Add a script from the description down below. Change position to 960, 0 and 0. Go to light options. Change radius and fall off distance to 500. Add a new light to the timeline. Rename it to emitter 1. Go to Transform. Press Alt button and click Stopwatch next to Point of Interest. Add a script from the description down below. Press Alt button and click Stopwatch next to Position. Add a script from the description down below. Go to Light Options. Change radius and fall off distance to 500. Add a new null layer and rename to Control. Go to Effects and Presets. And add a color control effect to this layer. Change its color to 0, 0 and 50. Now add a new solid layer. Rename it to Flares. Go to Effects and Presets and add Optical Flares effect to this layer. Change its mode from normal to screen. Hide its visibility. We will change its property later on. Now add a new solid layer and rename it to P11. Move this layer below LT1 layer. Go to Effects and Presets and add a Trapcode particular effect to this layer. Go to Emitter. Change particles per second to 400. Change emitter type to light. Change direction to directional. Press Alt button and click Stopwatch next to velocity. Add a script from the description down below. Change velocity random to 0% and change velocity from motion to 0%. Change emitter size X, Y and Z to 0. Go to Particles. Change life per second to 1. Change size to 2. Change set color to from light emitter. Change blend mode to add. Go to Physics. Change physics mode to bounce. Go to Bounce. Change floor layer from none to floor. Go to World Transform and press Alt button and click Stopwatch next to Y rotation. Add a script from the description down below. Change its mode from normal to screen. Duplicate this layer, by pressing Ctrl D, at least 9 times. Till P1/10th layer. Duplicate P1/10th layer, by pressing Ctrl D. Rename it to P2/1. Go to Emitter. Click Light Naming. Change Light Name to emitter1. Go to Velocity Script. And change the name of layer in the script to emitter1. Duplicate this layer, by pressing Ctrl D, at least 9 times. Till P2/10th layer. Duplicate P2/10ths, by pressing Ctrl D and rename it to P3/1. Go to Emitter. Change emitter type to point. And change direction to uniform. Delete script from velocity and change its value to 0. Go to Particles. Change Set Color to at Start. Duplicate this layer, by pressing Ctrl D, at least 9 times. Till P3/10th layer. Duplicate P3/10th layer, by pressing Ctrl D. Rename it to P4/1. Go to Emitter. Change velocity to 50. Go to Particles. Change life per second to 3. Change size over life, using presets. Go to Physics. Change gravity to 100. Go to Bounce. Change Bounce to 100, change Bounce Random to 0 and change Slide to 120. Go to Auxiliary System. Change Emit to @Bounce Event. Change Particles per Collision to 50. Change Particle Velocity to 50. Also change Life per second to 1. Now change Blend Mode to Add. Change Size to 0.5 and also change Size over Life using presets. Change Opacity to 100. Change Color from Main to 100%. Change Gravity to 50. Go to Floor Layer and go to Transform. Change X rotation to 0 and 90. Go back to P41 layer. Duplicate this layer, by pressing Ctrl D, at least 9 times. Till P4/10 layer. Go to Flares layer. Make this layer visible. Now move the timeline to 0 seconds and click stopwatch next to position X and Y. Change its value to 960 and -52. Now move the timeline to 15 seconds. Change its value to 960 and 89. Now move the timeline to 30 seconds. Change its value to 960 and 6. Change source type from 2D to 3D. And change render mode to on transparent. Click Options. And select Spore Flares from the preset. Go to Project window. Duplicate Particles 1 composition, by pressing Ctrl D. Open Particles 2 composition. Hide Flares layer visibility from the timeline. Go P11 layer and go to particles. Change size from 2 to 3. Do it same for P11 to P3/10 layer. Now go to P41 layer and go to physics. Go to bounce and change floor layer to none. Do it same for rest of the layers. Now add a new composition. Rename it to Final. Go to Project window. Drag Particles 1 comp to the timeline. Go to Effects and Presets. And add Curves effect to this layer. Change RGB channel. Now add Hue Saturation effect to this layer. Change Master Saturation to -57. Again add Particles 1 comp to the timeline. Change its mode from normal to add. Add Levels effect to this layer. Now add Fast Box Blur effect to this layer. Change blur radius to 50 and iterations to 1. Go to Project window. Drag Particles 2 comp to the timeline. Change its mode from normal to add. Go to Effects and Presets. Now add Fast Box Blur effect to this layer. Change blur radius to 10 and iterations to 1. Now add Trapcode Star Glow effect to this layer. Change preset to Cold Heaven. Also change streak length to 39. Now add an adjustment layer to the timeline. Rename it to CC. Now add a curves effect to this layer. Change color channel as per your need. Now add color balance effect to this layer. Change shadow red balance to -34, green balance to 12 and blue balance to 15. Change midtone red balance to 1, green balance to 16 and blue balance to -36. Change highlight red balance to -62, green balance to 22 and blue balance to 21. That is folks for today. I hope you like my video. If you like the video, please click the like button. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to it. Thank you and have a nice day.